You're listening to the official Minnesota Wild podcast, presented by Acrisure.
To the pros. It's time for Beyond the Pond on The Fan. Here are your hosts, Pat Micheletti and Kevin Fallness.
Let's talk hockey!
Just another beautiful Saturday morning in the state of hockey. Welcome to Beyond the Pond. Kevin Fallness and Brett Blakemore back in St. Louis Park. At Penn State, we've got the great Pat Micheletti on the road with the Gophers, along with Wally Shaver. What's going on, gentlemen?
Well, can I, before we start, rumor has it that you were there like an hour ago, prepping, getting ready.
I walked
stuff,
in.
Or no?
This is as close as I've ever cut it. I went Ron Johnson.
Wally and I have been at the rink for, 45 minutes or so?
At least.
You guys are dedicated. I get it.
Yeah.
I went Ron Johnson.
So when did you, no, seriously, when did you get...
Literally.
I need to hear it.
Literally 5 seconds to spare.
What is wrong with you?
I got here before the open start. I don't know why it took me so long to get here, but it did take a little longer than I anticipated. But I wasn't late.
Brett asked me if there was dedication to the show, and
you got to start questioning it at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, you're here on time.
I'm never late.
That is true.
You can say that.
Yeah.
Good morning, Wally. How are you, Wally? As I change gears.
You're been up for a couple of hours already.
Yeah.
Sounds like you just rolled out of bed.
No, it was not quite like that, Mr. Shaver. That's not exactly
You
how
were
it
looking
works.
for Wally to save you, weren't you?
Yeah, he just piled right on.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears. How about them Golden Gophers? What happened last night against the Penn State Nittany Lion?
You want to go, Wally?
We lost 3-0.
Yeah, we lost 3-0. Well, I'll this team, and it's been kind of the way all year. It's challenged offensively, and when they get and they've been getting their opportunities. There's no question about it. But the inability to finish, for example, it was 2-0 to start the second period, and right away, correct me if I'm wrong, Wally, Minnesota had 2 or 3 grade A opportunities, and they couldn't finish.
Just couldn't bury it. And then the killer was right at the end of the period. 5 seconds ago, Penn State takes a shot. It hits the post. Normally when a shot hits the post, it deflects off in the corner. It dropped right in the crease onto a Penn State stick. 5 seconds left in the period, and it's 3-0. And that was a killer.
Yeah, you can't go into the you go into the third period down 2-0. You're right there, right? I mean, you're one goal changes the momentum and all that. We've seen it, forever. But giving up that third goal with 5 seconds left in the second period kind of deflated everybody. I mean. And, the Gophers got great goaltending last night. Luka DePasqua was really good. And but, they got to find a way to generate some offense.
What is the outlook for the rest of the season? I'm not used to seeing the Gophers not ranked. And when we look at the record, I mean, it's not what you'd expect when you talk about the Golden Gophers. So is this just kind of the norm for the rest of the season, or is there hope that they can get things resurrected in the second half?
Well, January is the month. I mean, you look at this schedule they have, and help me, Wally, but the Penn State this weekend, the number 1 ranked team in the country, Michigan, next weekend at home. The following weekend, the number 3 or 4, number 2 ranked team in the country, Michigan State. They go there, and then home to the number 3rd ranked team in the country, the Wisconsin Badgers. So we'll know whether they'll be able to get home ice for the playoffs, or will they be having to chase and have to make a run in the playoffs to make the tournament. It's a daunting schedule, a daunting task, and so we'll have to see how it plays out.
And from a playoff standpoint too, the one advantage I think there is it's single game elimination for the Big Ten first round this time around.
Yes, good point.
They've gone to a 2-week playoff format in the Big Ten instead of 3 weeks, and that could benefit a team like Minnesota. You get hot right at the end, and that's what you need to do at that time. But we're not blowing off January, but it is like you said, Pat, a daunting task, and we just got to stay healthy, kind of like the Wild. You got to stay healthy.
Yeah, well, stay healthy and find a way to find the back of the net, because that's been an issue, and we'll have to see how it all plays out.
We can talk World Juniors in a minute, but It's been a while since you guys have seen Bob Motzko because of the World Juniors. How's he holding up? How did he take the tough loss to Finland in the quarterfinals?
Well, that one was a really tough one. It was just, as he said, it was just gut-wrenching for everybody. You wanted to win that game. They were a very good team, and you lose it in a 3-on-3 overtime on, just a nice setup, and the guy got a good shot off, and it beat Nick Kempf, who's a goalkeeper for Notre Dame, and he said it was really tough. It affected the staff and the players, and you just feel awful for a day or two, but then reality sets in. You got to go back to your regular teams, and you get on with the second half of the hockey season.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a game where you could say, "Oh, Finland upset the U.S." The Kevin, and watching international hockey, the Finns are a top 3-4 team in the world, and in all of their age groups, and so I don't think it was an upset. But yes, I mean, obviously, on your own soil, you want to perform and you want to get to that medal round and compete for a gold. And unfortunately, this year it didn't happen. But can't take away the last 2 years of them winning the gold. And it's the depth around the world. You look at the other teams in the tournament, sans Denmark. They were really good teams and really good hockey, and that's why we're looking forward to the Olympics too, because we're just talking about the top 4 teams in there. Well, the Swiss are good. The Germans could upset somebody. Slovakia is good. Czechia is good. So now we turn our attention to the Olympics, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the international hockey is fantastic. I didn't watch it as close as some as far as the World Juniors go. I did pay attention to it, and it felt to me like the right team won. I mean, Sweden, it felt like was on another level than everyone else, and in the end, it proved to be the case.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You watch that Swede team, and I mean, they were loaded, and they might end up getting the number. I can't remember the kid's name, but
Stenberg.
Yeah, he might be the number 1 pick in the draft, and so and their depth, and they're just good teams all around the world.
I thought the Swedes were just so structured in their play. They just didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. Their passing was really crisp, and you can't overlook Czechia. I mean, there's a team that has a whole bunch of NHL draft picks on that team, and they've beaten Canada 4 straight years at the World Junior, and Canada's always loaded.
Yeah, a fun tournament, man. It was start to finish a great job by everyone who participated, everyone that was able to take it in as a fan. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Sweden does come away with their 3rd gold medal, and first since 2012, I do believe. So good on them. They got it done, and we'll wait another year before we get back to that. Brett Blakemore's breakaway's coming up in just a little bit.
Well, he can stay for that, can he?
I hope he does. Hey, you want to witness greatness? Stick around for Brett Blakemore's breakaways.
I've always said that.
we got more college hockey talk coming up at the bottom of the hour when the Schloss will join us from Grand Forks. He's got Brad Schlossman. Always fun. And you guys are going to bounce for the second hour?
No, we could stay up until the last half hour. So
okay.
We'll give you
till 11:30. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got Cal Clutterbuck coming up at the top of next hour, and we got our Youth Hockey Hub report from Tony Scott. And then once you guys leave, we'll grab Jack Capuano, Wild Associate Head Coach for the Minnesota Wild.
Hey, will you ask Jack for me how he did against Minnesota when he played?
Feels like you're setting me up for disappointment. I think he's going to not be happy with that question.
He won't be happy with me. No.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely will pass that along.
But I just want, I think you should ask.
Okay, I will definitely do that. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that road trip that just concluded for the Wild.
Yes.
14 days, 6 cities, 7 games, and just an odyssey of a schedule. But they end up going 4-1-2 in those 7 games.
Yeah. That's remarkable because being on the road for that long and. I thought it was a wonderful road trip. It's funny, Kevin, and I love our fans, and the fans love the Wild. you're not going to win every game. You're just not going to win every game. And, there was heartbreak when they lost in Los Angeles. But no, what a great road trip, Kevin.
It starts with an overtime win in Winnipeg, and it finishes with an overtime win in Seattle. I don't know how much you guys got a chance to watch it, but the finish was great. It's unfortunate because they did blow a 2-0 lead going into the third period. Seattle scores twice.
Yep.
By the way, that Kraken team is dangerous. They're going to be a team to watch for in the Pacific Division, but the Wild get it done in overtime. 2-on-1, Kaprizov to Zuccarello. Nice little saucer pass from Kaprizov, and Zuccarello finishes it off.
Yeah, and that's how, Kevin, you look at it. Minnesota was up 2-0 going into the third. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's that, you look at the Gophers last night, right? They could have been down 2-0 going into the third. Instead, they give up that goal with 5 seconds left. That's a big difference, boy. And, you knew Seattle was going to make a push. They did. They tied it up. But, the resiliency of the star players on our team and everybody on that team gets the victory. And that's, huge 2 points.
Wally, I've had a chance to talk to Pat a lot about this topic. I'd be interested to hear what you think as a guy who's watching this from afar, the addition of Quinn Hughes. What do you like about his game, and is it hard to believe? For me, it's hard to believe that he's actually in a Wild uniform, but every night, 13 points in 13 games, he just continues to shine.
I remember Frank Mazzacco texting me just after they acquired him, and I said, that is an absolutely huge get. You figure 2 years ago he was the best defenseman in the league and won the Norris Trophy. But I've been up to Vancouver Island when visiting my folks over the years, and I've watched this guy play for Vancouver, and they just went gaga over him all the time up there, and he just dominated that Vancouver team.
Well, Wally, remember, us calling games when he was a freshman?
When he was at Michigan.
At Michigan, and we were like, what's he doing in this league?
Yeah.
And that's when he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And right when I think he was, he went in that draft the next year. What did he go, Kevin? I don't even know what
I'd have to look it up.
But crazy what the kid. And the thing is, Kevin, as you know from being around him, he just loves to play the game.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, he's one of those guys that just, I don't care. I'll play 40 minutes and then I'm going to go out to the outdoor rink and play after the game.
Yeah.
That's that family.
The other thing about him, of course, you bring a Quinn Hughes on and he's going to make everyone around him better, but I didn't think Brock Faber could take his game to another level. He has done that playing alongside Quinn Hughes. He's on a level that I didn't think he could reach, and yet he continues to push the boundaries.
What's he got up to 10 goals now?
10 goals. He's got 5 points in the last 3 games, including the assist on the overtime winner.
And here's the deal. Brock Faber doesn't think offensive. I mean, in his mindset, he can do it, but his first priority is to defend and move pucks and do everything on the defensive side of the puck. Well, lo and behold, he has the ability to be offensive, and it's just crazy the year he's had.
I think it might go down as the best trade the Wild ever made.
Well, it's definitely the biggest, and I think
Which one, the Faber one or the Hughes one?
That's a good point. They both
adding that kind of
but
skill
think about
set.
it though. I know
that's true.
No, I
With
mean,
both
Hughes, no question. But getting Brock Faber, in that deal was, I think, a home run.
Well,
right?
and you know what else? You get Brock Faber for Kevin Fiala, but there was also draft picks that came along with that. One of those picks, you could make an argument it was Liam Ogren. I don't know if it was officially Ogren or Urov that came in that deal, but you used that piece to go get Quinn Hughes. So in all, it was a win-win. I think LA really likes Kevin Fiala. I bet they'd really like to have Brock Faber at the same time. But regardless, I think that was a win-win for both sides. But the Wild did parlay that in the long run into acquiring Quinn Hughes. So, a win in so many different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's squeeze in a break. When we continue, I hope Wally's wearing a seatbelt or he can buckle up because we got Brett Blakemore's breakaways. Lots of other action coming your way as well. It's Beyond the Pond on a Saturday morning right here on The Fan. Full day of action coming your way on KFAN. From what I understand, the Wolves will follow us with an 11:45 pregame, so we'll make way for Alan Horton and company. Wild on the air later on tonight. 6:45 pregame as the Wild face off against the New York Islanders. Coming up next hour, we'll check in with Cal Clutterbuck, former Wild forward, former Islanders forward, and now working TV with the New York Islanders. He'll give us a full preview of that one. And, of course, you got Wally and Pat on the air tonight, 5 o'clock. Gophers at Penn State on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and FM 103.5. Join Wally and Pat from Pagula Ice Arena.
4:30 pregame show, Kevin.
4:30 pregame show. Don't forget that. And don't forget about Brett Blakemore's Breakaways.
It's time for Brett Blakemore's Breakaways.
Kaprizov in alone. Nobody going to catch him. Kaprizov scores!
And now, Blakemore's Breakaways.
All right, is Wally sitting down? I don't want him to get caught off
got
guard.
him strapped in. He's never been through this.
Brett, have you met Wally?
Not in person, no.
Brett
I think we've
Blakemore,
talked a couple
Wally
times.
Shaver, Wally, that's Brett Blakemore.
Hey, good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you as well. Here we go. Still one of the best opens on the station. for
Wally,
my money.
Without a doubt.
Wally, I bet you have
Don't
appreciation.
You think, Wally?
I bet
Sounds
Wally has
good.
appreciation for this music, too.
You've heard this. This is the Hockey Night in Canada.
From the old, isn't it from the old Hartford Whalers?
Oh, it is.
Their goal song or something like that?
TSN.
Or no, maybe it is Hockey Night in Canada. I'm
Yes,
wrong. All right.
Hockey
All
Night.
right.
Oh, come on, Kevin.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Overall, the road trip for your Minnesota Wild was a success. They got points in way more games than they didn't. Do you feel like, again, 0% panic? I'm not being negative. It's just, I feel like they're not. I'm not.
Nice asterisk.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not being negative. My hopes are very high for this team. It just feels like they're not. Maybe they're tired. It's a long road trip. Gorgie said it was longer than the trip to Sweden. So they've been on the road forever, but I just don't feel like they're playing their best hockey. They're playing good hockey. They're playing getting points hockey, but I feel like I've seen them play better hockey since the Quinn Hughes trade. Do you feel like they're not playing up to their full potential right now?
I'll start, Pat and Wally, because I did sit and watch each and every one of these hockey games. I think they started to run out of gas in Los Angeles. I thought they were playing pretty decent up until then. Thought they played okay in the first game. The second game, I think it was on Monday night, I felt like in that second period they ran out of gas. They tried to make a charge in the third period. They fell short, and they ended up getting swept in the two-game set. I thought they played really good in Seattle. Again, I think that's a Kraken team that I don't think many people have on their radar, and they're right part of a big car pile of a mess in the Pacific Division. But I think they're going to have something to say about who comes away with one of those top three spots in the Pacific. I thought the Wild played well that night. Yes, they blew a 2-0 lead, but they ended up getting it done in overtime. I am not worried about them. 26 wins of the season, third in not only, well, tied for second in the Central, the West, and the National Hockey League, and coming out with just one loss in regulation during that road trip. I'm not hitting the panic button at all. I feel pretty good, and I can't wait to see them back on home ice.
Well, if I do the math right, 4 wins, so that's 8 points. 2 ties, add another
10
2.
out of 14 points on the road trip.
Yep, thank you. In the best league in the world on a 16-day road trip, I'll take it.
And the other thing I would add to that, I don't care who you are, whether you're a player, your staff, or you're a broadcaster, when you're on the road that much, that beats you up.
Yep.
You really get tired. And let's face it, this is the worst month of the year anyways for NHL hockey.
The dog days.
It's the dog days, exactly.
Yep.
So to come away with 10 out of 14, I think is just phenomenal.
Yeah, Foligno was saying in the postgame that now they're expecting pretty much a sprint from now until the Olympic break, because that's what it is. They've got 4 games in the entire month of February. Meanwhile, in the first 3 months of the season, they've been cramming in 15 games a month. And that's not an exaggeration. They've been playing a ton of hockey. They're closing in on, I think tonight is game number 46. It's January 10th. So they've been playing a lot of hockey. The past 2 weeks have been on the road. Now they get a 3-game homestand, and then they're back on the road again. But regardless, these won't be easy games, but it'll be nice to get back on home ice, and I'm sure all of them. Brutal. Not only did they have to play at 9 o'clock in Seattle on Thursday, they didn't travel back until yesterday. So they got back sometime last night. Yesterday afternoon, they'll have their morning skate. They blew off the morning skate, and actually they'll hit the ice tonight. So it's been a grind.
Well, the other thing is, Think of how little practice time you get.
None.
You're playing every other day.
They've had none. They did some small ice drills. They did have 2 days in between games earlier this week coming out of L.A. and going into Seattle, so I think that was helpful. But I think a lot of that is rest and recovery. The big question mark going into tonight is the status of Jules Eriksson Ek, because I love me some Kaprizov. I love me some Boldy. The goaltenders are important. You love Quinn Hughes. But Jules Eriksson Ek is as important as anyone on that team, and he left the game early in Seattle. So that's going to be what everyone's holding their breath about right now.
Well, and that second line has been so good for the Wild,
Big
too.
time.
You need him. Someone who I brought this name up on Breakaways before, and I like this player. It's just I feel like he's just not having the season that we're used to him having. He leads the team in penalty minutes by a country mile. He's had a lot of uncharacteristic turnovers. I mean, points with defensemen, it's not really that big of a 9 points in 38 games, but I'm not really going to hold your feet to the fire. -1 plus minus. But it just feels like we're not seeing the Jake Middleton of old that we're used to seeing. He had a big block last night. That was a very good play. But just when you're leading 46 penalty minutes and the next highest is Foligno at 34 at this point in the season, I mean, that's a number that I'd look at and go, okay, what's going on here? Are we getting beat? Are we taking lazy tripping penalties or hooking penalties? What's going on here? And he's not like a giant fighter either, that he's filling up the penalty minutes with that either. So do we think Middleton, am I crazy for thinking it's not standard Middleton we're used to?
I'd like to jump in first, Kevin.
Yeah.
I would answer it this way. This is a classic example of we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know how much he's hurt, playing hurt.
100%.
You know, we don't know that. That's one. Number two, I think he has jumped in. I think he's had a few scraps. I don't know how many. You can look that up, but I would venture to guess a lot of those are 5-minute majors for fighting where he's gone in and protected. Now, has he played his best? Probably not, but for those reasons, I would just question the why, and we don't know.
I would also tell you this: if your consternation is about Jake Middleton, he's on your third pair now. I mean, you got Hughes and Faber on the top set. You've got Brodin and Spurgeon, I think, playing some great hockey. And for the first time in almost forever, they hardly never do they play together, but now they get the opportunity. They're playing great. I mean, that's 3/4 of your game at this point. Middleton and whoever he's paired up with, they're not going to see a ton of ice time anyway. So I don't think it's worth the consternation myself.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying, get rid of him, I'm calling for his head or anything. I'm just like, I've just noticed that I don't think, because I like Middleton and he's great for a third pairing. You kidding me? Also, I looked it up. He has 4 fights this season. So that should be noted.
That's 20 then, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one more. We probably got to get going. Did you see the test event in Italy for the Olympic rink where there was a hole in the ice that had to stop the game? This is I don't know if it's the IOC or whatever governing, or the IIHF. How this happens is beyond me.
I don't know, but, Milan is about an hour from Lugano, Switzerland. I lived right there, so I kind of know. I would move those games to Lugano right now. I would just say,
you
know
can't.
What? No, the hockey portion of it.
Oh, I think that would be just as big as an undertaking as fixing that hole in front of the goal mouth that they showed the other. They've got everything set up there. All the
but they got these guys are going to have to. Their locker rooms are.
They're in trailers, aren't they?
They're in trailers.
Yeah, so bad.
Lugano's got a 15,000 seat arena.
Yeah,
I mean it's right there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I get it, and we had Billy on not that long ago. He says, "I don't care, whatever. We'll do whatever." I was listening to McKinnon yesterday on Spit and Chickley. He said, "I don't care. Put us in the parking lot."
But do they care if there's a hole in the ice?
Yeah, they definitely care. Yeah, and I think the NHL and the NHLPA will care as well. They've got a limited amount of time to get this figured out. They're under a month at this point from the women for sure taking the ice, but the men right hot on their heels. This has debacle written all over it. Hopefully they get this figured out because it's going to be fantastic hockey if they can get around these hurdles.
Yeah.
Is that it, Brett?
100%. That's what we got.
All right, let's squeeze in a break, and then we'll continue.
Wally made it through.
He did. You're all right. Wipe the sweat from his brow.
You should see the look on his face. Really?
This is easy.
That's Brett Blakemore. All right, let's take a break. Like I said, we'll continue the hockey talk and the college hockey talk on the other side of break. We got our guy, Brad Schlossman, joining us from the Grand Forks Herald. He's next. The Schloss on Beyond the Pond.
This is Wild Captain Jared Spurgeon, and you're listening to Fallness and Nicoletti on Beyond the Pond.
Minnesota's
models may be shown.
The years of heartbreak, of overtime losses, shootout losses, upset losses. But now the Swedes will win their third ever gold medal. Sweden, the World Junior Champions in Minnesota. They take away a final score of 4-2, and the gold goes to the team in gold.
Hey, did Micheletti start drinking early this morning? I thought I heard him say it wasn't an upset that the U.S. lost. Come on, man. That's a joke. It was a complete upset.
Shots fired from the talkback line. That's Brett Blakemore to work that into the conversation.
That was a good one.
Pat Micheletti and Wally Shaver out there at Penn State. And this is long overdue, Patrick, a conversation with the great Brad Schlossman joining us from Grand Forks.
Yeah, before we go to him, you blew him off like 2 weeks in a row.
No, I didn't blow him off at all.
I can't believe it.
He knows that's not true. Hello, Bradley.
How's it going, guys?
Really good. How are
good.
things in your world? I know you've been busy. You were in the Twin Cities last weekend, right, for the World Juniors? What'd you think?
Yeah, I was in the Twin Cities, got back and hopped straight on a plane to Colorado Springs, so kind of all over, but it's been great. It's like a lot of entertaining hockey to watch. That was my first World Juniors I'd covered in 21 years, so it was really fun to be around it again, and it was great to see all the players from the different countries who we don't always get to see in person here. Like, I've seen the college guys and, seen a lot of the major junior players, but it was fun to see the European players for me.
Hey, Schloss, being around it, a lot of these guys, some will, go to the NHL next year or sign with their teams or what have you. But, was there a lot of college recruiting going on during this junior tournament, seeing that it was right here in the Twin Cities?
I think there was. I did see a few college coaches there. I'm guessing this was a great opportunity to touch base with some younger players from those European teams that they're actually in the United States. And I do think there was some of that going on, with especially with the Europeans. Like, they can go touch base with the Americans or the Canadians fairly easy, but this was a chance to have some of the European players here in the United States.
Because a lot of these teams were, there were games like in Mankato and Bemidji, and which I thought was great, by the way, Duluth, and so I would think that a lot of these teams did reach out.
Yeah, that's just a really easy way to touch base, and you know what? Now we've talked a lot about the rule change that allowed CHL players to retain their college eligibility. But really, that is part of what has allowed Europeans to retain college eligibility at a higher rate. And also the fact that when they're looking at actual and necessary expenses and how much money you made if you played pro games, the European system is kind of like, think of like if the Minnesota Wild had a U20 team and a U18 and a U17. And they have players who go and they play for the U17, and then they get called up to the 18s, and then, hey, they have a couple injuries on the big club, and you have to call someone up, and then they go up and play a couple pro games. That no longer ends their eligibility. So I think we're going to see more Europeans playing college hockey than ever before, and that's maybe part of the storyline that has gotten lost in the CHL thing. We're obviously going to see the CHL players, but we're going to see more Europeans than we've seen before.
Hey, Tony, first of all, have you met Wally Shaver?
It's not Tony. It's Brad. By the way.
Oh, God, I was texting Tony. Sorry, Brad.
Okay.
Brad, have you met Kevin Falls?
No.
That's
Bob
Wally Shaver
McKenzie at College High.
Yes. Sorry. First of all, have you met Wally?
We've known each other for a long, long time.
I kind of thought so. So I wanted to make sure that that we got the introductions out of the way. We were talking a little bit about the World Juniors and the impressions that we got from the Americans. I know it was a tough loss in the quarterfinals to the Finns, but I felt like even prior to that, they just didn't seem like the force that they were in the previous two tournaments. What did you think from the Americans, from the tournament as a whole?
Yeah, I heard the playback before I got on the air. Pat's right. I don't think it was an upset. You could have looked at this U.S. roster 6 months before the tournament even started, and you knew going in this wasn't as talented of a team as they've had the past 2 years. Like, that was very clear before this process even started. Of course, it doesn't hurt or it doesn't help when, Connolly gets injured and Hudson gets injured and Max Planck gets injured. Those are three of your top players on a team that's already not going to be as talented as it was. So I think going in, they had an uphill battle. And, you look at the goaltenders, they have one NCAA goaltender, and that just tells you that the depth probably wasn't there. When's the last time they've had two junior hockey goalies out of the three? Usually you have a bunch of guys who are playing college already, and they didn't have that. The D-core wasn't quite as deep. I just didn't think it was as talented as a squad to start with. And, I think that's what the results showed.
Yeah, Schloss. Look at, we always, I think the depth throughout the whole tournament and throughout the world now has gotten so much better. Kevin and Wally and I were talking about it before you were on. But the depth of these teams is just getting better and better every year, isn't it?
It is, and I even looked at we've seen the Swedes have good teams and the Finns have good teams, but I was even really surprised by the Latvians were incredibly competitive in this tournament. They took Canada to overtime. It just seems like the depth, and even the countries that you don't expect them to be really good. Usually the Latvians go there and they're getting beat 8-1, right? And now they're taking Canada to overtime and just. They have a potential top 10 pick on their team like that. It just does feel like the depth is increasing all over across the board.
Hey, let's talk about Canada a little bit. And, there is so much pride up there, to win every tournament because, they believe that they are still the power in hockey. And, obviously you look at the number of players they put out, but what is going on with the Canadian junior team?
Well, I remember last year they really were heavily criticized for maybe leaving a couple skill guys off their roster, and this year they just went all skill and offense, and they just did not defend very well. Their D-core was full of a bunch of guys who all want to jump into play all the time. They could have used a steady guy on the back end or two that, defend at a little higher level because their top players just wanted to jump all the time. And, I wondered for a while whether it would matter that they couldn't defend because they were scoring 7 goals a game. But in the end, it did matter. They just did not defend well enough.
Well, let's jump over to college hockey because it's been a while since we've been able to talk about your favorite sport. I noticed last night, if I remember correctly, North Dakota fell short, correct? Didn't they lose last night?
Overtime.
In overtime? Yeah, 3-2 in overtime to Colorado College.
So they lose. The Gophers lose at Penn State. Meanwhile, give us kind of an update. Recap the first half for us as we get ready for the second half that's now underway.
Yeah, from my perspective here, covering North Dakota, they had a really good first half. A lot of turnover on their roster, 15 new guys, which is the most since 1973. And I didn't expect them to come together that quickly. I thought they had a really surprisingly good first half. And it'll be interesting to see where they can take it in the second half. Michigan, I thought they would be talented, but they've been better than I thought they would be. And the way the nation is shaping up as a whole, especially if you look at the MPI, it is the NCHC and Big Ten show right now.
Yeah.
Those two leagues are just all over the top 15 in the MPI, and Hockey East right now would be a one-bid league, and the bid would go to whoever won the conference tournament. That is just crazy to see. We'll see if someone can push up into that top 15 range, but they're not doing it quite yet.
Hey, Schloss, obviously, I got a couple different league questions here for you, different leagues. I mean, you look at the Big Ten, and you've got Michigan State, you've got Michigan, and you've got Wisconsin. They're all in the top 5, right? And do you see anything changing out of the Big Ten as we head into the gauntlet, which is January?
Not really. I don't think those teams are going anywhere. I think Michigan State and Wisconsin are kind of built to be like playoff teams. They're your traditional, they've got some high-end players, but they can really be tough to play against. They're getting pretty good goaltending. If Michigan continues to get this goaltending from Jack Ivankovic, that would be of huge help to the Wolverines. But you just look at the depth. Penn State is got a lot of firepower up front as well, and obviously last night posting a shutout win is impressive. That that they're able to keep opponents off the board, but I don't see those teams going anywhere. And I feel it's the same with the NCHC. I think Western Michigan beating Denver last night on the road, really big win for the Broncos. And I think they're going to continue to push up here in the MPI. So I don't see a lot of movement in the very top of it. I am just curious to see who else can sneak up there. Kind of BU or BC get things rolling here in the second half.
Okay, and now I want to move to a league no one wants to talk about except for me, Schloss, and that is the CCHA. Because when you look at that league, there are 6 teams that could win the league, that could win the title. And if I'm a team in another league, I don't want to play a team in the CCHA in the NCAA tournament. My question would be, do you think there could be 2 teams that come out of that league this year?
Yeah, I mean that's another interesting story shaping up. They have a couple teams. Minnesota State is high in the MPI, and then Augustana is the one that's right now sitting in a pretty good spot in the MPI. Augie played all 8 of its non-conference games against the NCHC and went 6-2. So if Minnesota State and Augie end up in the top 13, 14 or so, and then, hey, let's say someone else like Bemidji State or St. Thomas wins the league, they could get 3 teams in. That is a real possibility right now. So you're right. It is shaping up to be an interesting stretch run. I'm curious if those teams are going to kind of beat up on each other, though, and kind of drop each other, or if 2 of those teams can really establish themselves as at-large teams.
Talking to Brad Schlossman here from the Grand Forks Herald, our guy when it comes to college hockey, no doubt. I got a question from every time this kid does something, my timeline blows up. He's a wild draft pick, 21st overall back in 2023, and now he's playing for Michigan State. Goes from Wisconsin to Michigan State, and Charlie Stramel feels like every night he continues to get better and better. What have any of the 3 of you seen from Stramel there with Sparty as he continues to grow into his game?
Well, I obviously, we cover him. I think he is getting closer and closer and closer to be NHL ready. And, I mean, he's big.
Yep.
He's strong, handles the puck well. He doesn't lose a draw, does he, Wally?
Not very often. And I think he's become more creative as a player at Michigan State versus Wisconsin.
Yeah, and to me, it was all about getting in the right setting and him taking kind of a step back and just – starting to be the player that he can be, and let's not forget, he skates pretty well, for a guy his size. And so, for all the people that were wondering about Charlie Stramel, watch out, because I think he's a prototypical NHL body and with some skill and grit. So that's my take on him. Schloss?
Yeah, I think those type of bodies take longer in college hockey typically.
Yes.
A lot of the big guys, sometimes they come in and it just takes them longer. And so he's kind of in that route. I know like Minnesota fans probably watch, Javon Moore, right? Yeah. He's going to be a much different player when he's a junior than a freshman.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that that's typical of those guys. So I'm not surprised that he's emerged as he's gotten older. He also had a lot of injuries in junior, and that probably set him back a little bit. But, big body guys, sometimes just their development takes a little longer.
12 goals, 26 points in 19 games for Michigan State, continuing to get better and better, at least according to my timeline. Charlie Stramel, a wild prospect. Do you guys mind if we take a question from the studio audience?
No.
All right, let's go to the front row here. Brett in Green Bay, you're on Beyond the Pond.
Hey, thanks, long time, first time. Schloss, I don't know if you know this, but my side gig when I'm not pushing buttons here is actually being the head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils hockey team.
The doppelganger.
Or at least looking like him. You mentioned the NCHC. It is a competitive division. Tough loss to Miami of Ohio last night at Mullet Arena. Do you think they have what it takes this year to even get back? I know they're always receiving votes to be in the top 20, but not necessarily ranked. Do you think they have the talent to at least break into the top 20, if not push for a tournament spot?
I think it's going to be a tough road just because that D-core is so young. It is tough to win with a young D-core in college hockey. Arizona State is young. That top line is absolutely on fire for the Sun Devils right now, and is going to win them a lot of games. Colin Potter is red hot. They've got, Shimmick has been really, really good for them, and Lucius has been good. But I just think it's really tough with a D-core that young and with the schedule that ASU is going to be playing.
Including a wild draft pick. I think Kipke is his name. So look out for that as well.
Schloss, if we go over to the Grand Forks Herald, what are we going to find? What type of great poetry are you putting out there for the fans to read?
Well, I'm trying to get back to college hockey right now after going in World Junior mode. Spengler Cup, I followed a lot of that with the college All-Stars over there. And, hopefully we'll have some good content for the second half of the season here.
All right, Schloss, thank you very much, my friend. I guarantee you we'll be touching base here again very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Brad Schlossman,
See you, Brad.
Grand Forks Herald. You can find him on the X Machine at Schlossman GF. That's where I found on the X Machine, Patrick, and I'll put this to Wally as well. The Big Ten sent out a tweet that Pat Micheletti ranked the Big Ten broadcast booths in order. And this is what you said, Patrick, so confirm or deny. Notre Dame is number 1, Penn State is number 2, Gophers number 3, Michigan 4th, the Buckeyes are number 5. What's so great about the view at Pagula that you put them number 2 in the Big Ten?
I'll let Wally answer that. I mean, we're sitting here right now.
Sitting right in the neutral zone, and we're only about 10 rows up from the ice, and we can hear the guys yapping at each other and what they're saying, and hopefully our crowd mic isn't picking up some of the profanities, but it's a great view. And the atmosphere in this building is just phenomenal. It's one of the very best in college hockey. They built this building right. It's just a little over 5,000 seats, and I tell you, they get that student section going. It's really steep, and boy, they're just on top of you. And I just love this place. It's one of my favorite places to go because State College is a college town. It's in the middle of nowhere. You can't even get in here unless you got a charter flight that we are fortunately able to utilize. But once you're here, it's a college atmosphere, and this whole town caters to college.
Yeah, and in Notre Dame Compton Family Ice Arena, we get our own booth.
Yeah,
and for radio, Kevin.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's really the same same type of atmosphere at Notre Dame. So that's why they picked them number 1 and number 2.
So if that's your top 5 in the Big Ten, what's number 1 overall in all of college hockey? What's your number 1 spot to be at from a broadcast standpoint?
Well, I'm still Notre Dame.
I would agree. Yeah.
It's really it's the best.
Well, awesome. Northeastern, the old rink. Now they're tearing down Matthews Arena, but you are literally 4 rows away from the ice. And as a broadcaster, you darn near have to wear a helmet there because pucks do go up there.
And Kevin, you know this from when you're, let's say, at the Grand Casino where you're up pretty high.
Yep.
And when you're down lower, I mean, as Wally alluded to, you look, when you're up at Grand Casino, you say, oh, why didn't that guy make that play?
Yeah.
But then when you're down there and you're really seeing how difficult a play it is, and you can say, oh, yeah, I get it. He didn't see that guy, or it was really different. It's just a different perspective of what you're looking at, and so the closer to the ice, the better for us broadcasters.
It feels like this is the way it's going, though. That's why you love these old-time barns, because you got the great sight lines. You're close to the action. But when they build these newer buildings, without question, the broadcasters are the ones that pay the price. They go further up and further back, and they're going into the rafters, and those great seats are going to the paying customers.
It's very unfortunate that they didn't. When they were building these new beautiful arenas, and they are beautiful, that they didn't think, you know what? Maybe we built something for the broadcasters.
Yep. Always the afterthought.
Right?
Yeah, always the afterthought. All right, let's squeeze in a break, and then when we continue, we'll jump back to the NHL stage. The Wild got a big one. They're back on home ice coming up later on tonight after a 7-game road trip that took them on either side of the New Year holiday. Now they're back on home ice to open up a 3-game homestand, and they're going to host the New York Islanders. It's coming up later on tonight, and a guy that's working TV for the Islanders, you know this name well, Cal Clutterbuck, joins us next on Beyond the Pond.
Until we got 18...
Beyond the Pond continues, hour number 2, getting you ready for the Wolves game coming up. The pregame starts at 11:45 in that one. Later on tonight, the Wild will host the New York Islanders, and this guy.
Ahead for Schaefer, he's in through the right circle, drives the net, scores! What a move for Matthew Schaefer! And what a goal for the 18-year-old, just spectacular! Barzal in, curls, Schaefer scores! Matthew Schaefer wins it in overtime over the Leafs.
That Matthew Schaefer, something special. So, too, is Cal Clutterbuck. Something special there for the television broadcast over there for the New York Islanders. Cal, I'm Kevin Fallness. We got Pat Micheletti and Wally Shaver out there in Penn State getting ready for the Gophers and Nittany Lions. And thank you for joining us once again on Beyond the Pond.
Oh, happy to be here, Kevin. Good to talk to you again.
Well, that Matthew Schaefer, and I'll turn you loose on Pat and Wally here in a second, but you told us in the preseason how special this kid was. Maybe we didn't see as much of him as you did in the preseason and leading up into the regular season. Man, there is something special about that kid. You were absolutely right. What a rookie campaign he's in the middle of.
Yeah, it's special. It's one of those things you don't see very often. I don't know if you want to call it generational. What do you want to call it? Maybe early for that, but I don't think it's early for me to put that tag on him. I think it's just, you could see the impact that he's had on the team, on the fan base, just from an energy perspective and excitement perspective. And then, the consistent amount of production, the ability to play 25-plus minutes a night as an 18-year-old, in the best league in the world. Like, these things just continue to sort of pile up. And even talks about potentially making Team Canada the Olympic team, which is, it's even the guy picking the team said it was kind of a crazy thing that he was even being considered. So, it's just Long Island is very lucky to have him. Very special kid, and I'm looking forward to watching him play for years.
Hey, Cal, it's Pat here with you. Nice to talk to you. It's just crazy. In my mind, and you can think back to when you were an 18-year-old, and, Wally and I see it with these college kids, and we preach, give the guy time to mature, a kid, not necessarily Matthew, obviously, a kid time to mature and grow into his body and get used to playing with older, against older players. But to think this kid is doing what he is doing at 18-year-old against NHLers, the best in the world, who are grizzled and mature and it's mind-blowing to see.
It is, and what's interesting to me is there's always an aspect of somebody's game, especially young defensemen, like you say, they come in when they're young. They're difficult to pick in the first round. You're lucky when you get them, but they do take, usually 3, 4, maybe 5 years to learn the position to the point where you're comfortable calling them your number one defenseman. There's always an aspect to their game. Maybe they're not physical enough. Maybe they're not strong enough. Maybe they're not fast enough. Maybe they don't play defense well enough, especially big time. These days, these defensemen are very offensively gifted. They have to learn the other side of the puck. The interesting thing about Matthew is that he's kind of very well-rounded. He's very smart when it comes to how he defends. And this is something, if you're going to watch him the first time or the first couple times, you're going to watch his offensive ability. You're going to watch him jumping up the play. You're going to be shocked by how much he's in the play, and then you're going to be shocked about how quickly he's the first guy back to defend. But I think for me, the telltale sign for me was when he goes and plays in his own end. You just watch him. He doesn't ever really get tied up. He's not stuck, so he can always get out and go the other way. He's not getting hung up on bodies. He defends really well with his body positioning, similar to like a Nick Lidstrom. It's not always about big physical contact. He's kind of in the pile. The puck finds him. He moves it up to his winger, and next thing you know, he's the center lane drive on a 3-on-2 rush from his own corner. So, he doesn't have those holes. And to me, his strength is going to continue to improve. His brain for the game is obviously there. So it's just a home run. I mean, he's a special kid. You just don't make him like that. Like you said, there's always a hole or two in somebody's game as they mature. I think he's starting from a place he's ahead of everybody from where he started.
Hey, Cal, let's talk about your former team, the Wild, and obviously the acquisition of Quinn Hughes. All of a sudden, I think around the league, Cal, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of looked at that, and once they acquired it and said, once they acquired Quinn, kind of woke. I don't know if you wake up or whatever, but all of a sudden, Minnesota's being talked about as a potential team that could make a long run. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, my thoughts are Minnesota's been, I think they've had a good core group of players there for a long time, even back to when I was still playing. I felt like it was a good nucleus of players, and, they're in the Wild are in an arms race right now in the Central Division. So, you're sitting there looking at who you got to compete against, who your first-round opponent's going to be. It's probably going to be Colorado. It's probably going to be Dallas. And Dallas goes out and adds Mikko Rantanen. They have Miro Heiskanen. Colorado, obviously McKinnon, Makar, Taves. So that's what you're up against. And so you got to give a lot of credit to Billy Guerin for going out there and getting the one guy that can put this team in the same conversation as those other two teams, especially given the fact that you're going to have to go through one of them to get to where you want to go. So I love it. I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of the Wild. I always watch them closely. I really enjoyed my time there. I still have friends in the area. So, I understand how big it is for that franchise, and Wild fans, I think, deserve something like that, an acquisition like that for a long time, and good on Quinn for deciding to go and play there, and good on Billy, like I said, for putting the chips on the table, recognizing that he had an opportunity to get a player that, similar to Matthew Schaefer, is a franchise-changing player, and you add it to a group of guys who are already a pretty good team to begin with, then you're kind of cooking with gas at that point. So, exciting times for both of these teams playing each other tonight.
Yeah, and you talk. It's a good way to put it, an arms race there in the Central Division. But now I look at the squad that you cover on a more regular basis in the New York Islanders. Playing some pretty good hockey, sitting there right in the middle of the pack there in the Metropolitan, trying to jump in. I look at their 53 points. They're 4 points away from the top seed in the Eastern Conference, but they're just 3 removed from being out of the playoffs completely. What a mess it is in the East.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's in the West, you've got your 3-4 teams at the top who seem to be winning every night. And then in the East, you've got teams who win 3 in a row and then they lose 3 in a row. It just seems to be the way it's going. And these teams are so evenly matched. And it's just difficult to win consistently. And you add in injuries, you add in scoring slumps and things like that, and the yo-yo just keeps yo-yoing. And it's the same with the Islanders. You know, they're in a position where they have a good week, they win 2 out of 3, everyone's happy, and then you wake up on Tuesday morning and, you know, you're only 2 points out of the bottom and you're 2 points out of the top. So it's just one of those things. You just got to keep your head down. I know people talk about it all the time. They just got to keep attacking it one day at a time and you know, not get too high, not get too low. Now they're in the middle of a second game of a 7-game road trip they're in right now. This is going to be a big one for them. Given this time of year, they're going to get a break, obviously in February, coming off of this trip. But if they can manage to get through this trip 500 or just over 500, I think they're going to be in good shape heading into March out of this Olympic break, because their schedule is pretty favorable from a travel standpoint. So right now they're looking to get through this trip unscathed and maintain their position in the standings. And, you know, it's in the Eastern Conference, it's coming down to the last day. That's just a foregone conclusion. So they're in a battle, but, you know, it's fun. It makes it fun to watch hockey tonight.
What is their injury situation coming into tonight? I from what I understand, Bo Horvat is not on the trip, correct?
Bo Horvat did not travel. He might meet them at some point. It's a long trip. I think they're out for 14 days. So he's I think they're calling it week to week, or they said they were going to reevaluate in a week, which is about right around now or next couple days. Obviously, he's going to be careful with himself with his nomination to the Canadian Olympic team. He wants to make sure he can be healthy and play in that. And they've got a couple long-term injuries. Alex Romanov out for the year, Kyle Palmieri out for the year, ACL injury. So other than that, pretty healthy. And yeah, they're a scrappy bunch, especially on the road. You know, the Islanders just kind of seem to hang in there, and they're resilient. So they've won a lot of games late in games. They've come back in games, and they've won a lot of overtime shootout games just by being pesky and hanging in there, especially on the road. So should be a good one tonight.
How about their goaltending situation? I think I saw Sorokin is back. So is it Sorokin and Rittich? That's the 1-2 punch?
Sorokin and Rittich, and they have been maybe the best 2 goaltenders in the world in the last 8 weeks. Since Halloween, Sorokin, you know, his numbers are great. They really are. But if you look at a little deeper at the numbers and the number of high-danger chances the Islanders give up on a regular basis, and his save percentage from those high-danger areas is something in like the 960s, which is outrageous. He's won them 7 or 8 hockey games already this year, halfway through the year. He's been incredible, and you know, as advertised, this is the goaltender he was when he came over when I was still playing, and he went through about a year's worth of a little bit of a drought for him, and he's back, and you know what a weapon he is for them.
Talking to former Wild forward Cal Clutterbuck, also played with those New York Islanders, now doing TV for the Islanders out there on the East Coast. Tonight, the Wild taking on the Islanders pregame at 6:45 right here on KFAN. Over 1,000 games in the National Hockey League. 346 of them came wearing that Minnesota Wild uniform. Are you still enjoying doing the TV thing, putting on the makeup and combing your hair and getting the mustache wax out?
Yeah, no makeup for me. I'm a no makeup guy. So okay. What you see is what you get on TV for me. But no, it's
just
been
wait.
fun. Like
yeah,
I said,
you'll get older, Cal. You will get older.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could ever do it. To be honest with you, I'd have to have somebody do it for me. I couldn't bring myself to stand in front of a mirror and put makeup on my face. But no, the TV's going great. It's a lot of fun. I get to watch a lot of teams coming in. I get to watch the Islanders. I get to be a part of it, interact with the fan base, try and, you know, give them a little bit of my opinion and a little bit of my knowledge that I've accrued over the years and being around the game, playing the game. So it's good. You know, I get to be at the home games. I'm on the concourse interacting with people. It's a really nice transition for me from playing into this.
I got one. Wally Shaver here. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about how the fan base is accepted and how it has grown from a marketing standpoint, leaving the building in Brooklyn and getting back out in Long Island. How has that whole transition worked, and what's been the feeling out in Long Island now?
Well, the fan base in Brooklyn, you know, I think our loyal fans stuck with us through that period. It was a frustrating period for everybody, even for us. I mean, we weren't able to, we didn't really live in Brooklyn. We still were on Long Island, and our practice rink was on Long Island. And so it was a lot of traveling for us on home games. Didn't feel like home games for the better part of 5 years. What they did a really good job of was the Nassau Coliseum had been renovated slightly. So for a year and a half to 2 years in between us going to UBS Arena and us leaving Barclays Center, we were able to go back and play at the Coliseum, which really re-engaged the fan base on Long Island. And, there was something special about that building, Coliseum. And it just so happens that we had pretty good teams those couple of years. We had some playoff runs in that building, obviously, most notably the conference final run, I think, in 2021 in the Coliseum, right out of COVID, people allowed to come back into the building, just an electric atmosphere. I think that really ignited the fan base. And then we went to UBS a couple down years, and, there was a concern about crowds getting smaller and less consistent. And then they drafted Matthew Schaefer, and that is all history. I mean, the building has an energy in it that I haven't seen in a long time. And, it's a credit to the kid and what he's been able to do. It's also a credit to his personality, his availability, him making himself available to people, letting the fan base into who he is as a person, being open. People love it. And they want to come to the rink every game because he's that player that just might do something special tonight. It was the game against Toronto last Saturday night. Scored 2 goals, including the OT winner, in a game that was kind of nothing going on for the Islanders. He put the team on his back, and it was one of those nights where you're going to remember if you were there or not, and that's what people are excited about on Long Island.
I got one more question for you. Later on, in about 20 minutes, we're going to have one of your former head coaches on, and Jack Capuano, now working with the Wild under John Hines and doing some great work here in the state of hockey. What was it like to work with him? I'll ask him about you. Now I'm asking you about him.
He was great. I love Cappy. He's a great human being. He's hilarious, quirky, funny, fun guy to just sit down and talk, shop about even non-hockey things. Just a fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. I mean, he's going to go down as the brainchild of me, Cizikas, and Martin being aligned for the better part of 9 or 10 years. It was his idea. So he'll take full credit for that. But he's a great guy. He's a perfect assistant coach. I loved him as a head coach. I think it's just the assistant coach role suits him great. He keeps it light. He knows the game, and he's just a fun guy to be around.
Awesome stuff, Cal. Good luck tonight. Look forward to seeing you in the state of hockey sometime very soon, and hopefully that's coming up here shortly.
And Cal, I want to leave you with this one too. My brother Joe, who you have played golf with, had nothing but great things to say about your golf game. Said you can just pound it. So that's a compliment.
I said thank you.
That's a compliment from my brother Joe.
I hope so. You're on the golf course every freaking day.
No, I did. I really enjoyed my time with Joe, and I actually got to, him and I would chat every time I would go in and play the Rangers. He'd come into the room. So, I enjoyed my time being around Joe. We had a good day at the golf course that day for sure.
Thanks for the time, Cal. Good luck, and thanks for doing this.
You got it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Cal Clutterbuck, now with Islanders TV, but of course one of the big names in the history of the Minnesota Wild franchise. He's on the air later on tonight, as is Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reed. Pregame at 6:45 as the Wild take on the Islanders back on home ice for the first time in 2026. Meanwhile, you guys are back on the air tonight at 4:30, right? Pregame on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM. Look forward to hearing that. What are you expecting in the rematch from the Gophers trying to pick themselves up off the mat after a 3-0 shutout last night against the Nittany Lions?
Well, in college hockey, it's awfully tough to sweep. We've seen that because of the parity throughout college hockey. So, I'm hoping that we see some oomph out of the Gophers tonight, and I don't know, Wally. Go ahead.
They always respond well after a loss.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we'll see tonight. Whether that'll relate to a win, we'll just have to wait and see what unfolds. But I think you'll see a much better Gopher team out here tonight.
Yeah, and it's not like they played a poor game last night. They, what's been their bugaboo all year is, creating offensive chances, and so, hopefully that will be the case tonight. We'll see.
Patrick, when we next talk, at least on the air, most likely will be next Saturday. That's another short show. The Wild are back on the road. They're in Buffalo, and I believe they dropped the puck on that one at 11:30. So we'll have just over an hour next week on the next edition of Beyond the Pond.
Well, we have to do what we have to do, Kevin.
I should ask too. I failed to bring this up earlier in the show. How is it being back out on the road? I know you've had your health issues, but obviously things are continuing to progress. Back on the road for the first time in a few months, right?
Yeah, it's been great, and everybody from the staff, the coaches, my broadcast partner who is making sure. He's taking care of me awesomely.
I'm getting tired of carrying you up the stairs.
It's been great. It's been fun, and it's great to be back.
All right. Well, you guys have a great call later on tonight. We'll be listening, and we'll check in again soon. Wally, thanks for your contributions today.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for carrying me again.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Wally Shaver, Pat Micheletti out there at Pagula Ice Arena while the Gophers taking on Penn State. As mentioned, puck will drop just after 5 o'clock. Pregame starts at 4:30 on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and FM 103.5. We still got just under a half hour to go. We still got to get our youth hockey report from Tony Scott. Plus, we'll check in with Cal Clutterbuck's former head coach and Jack Capuano. That's all coming up after this on Beyond the Pond. Our weekly installment and our weekly check-in with Tony Scott at Youth Hockey Hub. Always nice enough to give us kind of an update on what's going on. We've spent a lot of time talking college. We've talked a lot about the National Hockey League through this point of the broadcast. So now let's check in on the youth hockey scene. Tony, you're stuck with just me. Kevin Falmus, welcome again to Beyond the Pond.
How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm good. I was scrolling the little Twitter machine yesterday, and I see you guys doing car karaoke as you make your way across the state of hockey. Where were you guys going? Where have you been?
So Peter and I went up to every year. Peter and I broadcast with the help of our production team the Rosa World Max Foundation game. It's called the Max Rivalry Game, and it's a doubleheader between Rosa and World Boys High School and Girls High School. And we're lucky enough that the Marvin family sends some of our staff up on an airplane, and some of us have to drive. And I was a driver this year, but it was a fantastic game. All for a great cause. All the money went from the proceeds from the game go to money for the Max Foundation. The Max Foundation is mental wellness programs that go into school systems, into curriculums of schools all over the state. So it's a great initiative, great time to be up there. And what I like about it most is catching up with all my friends from Rosa and Ward at the same time.
Oh, awesome. Well, now you're back. So what's going on today?
Well, I was up early today. I didn't go to a 7 o'clock hockey game, but I did watch an 8 o'clock hockey game in the U18 Worlds. USA girls team played Slovakia, and they won 13-0. Why is this important, Kevin? 9 girls from Minnesota high school teams, 7 different teams are without their best players this week, and they're playing in Nova Scotia, and they won 13 to rip today. A girl from Benil St. Margaret's, Tallahassee, had 2 goals and an assist. 6 of the 9 had a point today on the score sheet in their big win this morning.
Wow. So what's going on back here a little closer to home?
Yeah, so you mentioned these teams, right? You got Hill Murray, Benil. All these great teams have their best players gone. So if you see some weird scores over the next 10 days, go, oh, that's why that happened. Their best player was missing. Grand Rapids the other night Grand Rapids Greenway beat Bemidji. I'm like, wow, that shouldn't happen. Well, they're missing their best player, Bailey Roop. She's in Nova Scotia right now. So there's a little bit going on. A real ranker out there on the girls' high school side takes a little bit what's going on right now with a grain of salt.
All right, so on the boys' high school side, I was watching the box scores this week, and it was an unbelievable week. I know you're going to touch on the Hermantown loss. That seems like a pretty major upset.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Proctor's 2 best players are freshmen, right? Yost, the kid who had the game-winning goal as a freshman. That Proctor team was in the state PB tournament 2 years ago. So no surprise that they're doing well, but surprise that they're doing well so early in their career up there. Jackson Hardy and Drew Yost for Proctor really put on a show for them. Yeah, it's a major upset. And then 2 nights later, Edina loses to St. Michael Albertville for the first time in program history.
Wow.
Pretty amazing stuff. 2 years ago, this group of juniors lost to Minnetonka 18-0. And now 2 years later, they're kind of on the rise, and I'm pretty proud of this group. I've known these kids on that St. Michael team, Clark and Monahan, and a bunch of great kids on that team. And to watch them beat Edina must feel pretty special to them.
Yeah, no doubt. So as you look at the scoreboard today, what are some of the matchups that you're going to be watching for today in Boys State High School hockey tournament?
I'd say there's 3 big games. I left out a girls' game. You have the past state champions. Dodge County travels up to North St. Paul and plays Hill Murray. Should be an interesting game because Dodge County's full, but Hill Murray's missing 2 of their top players. So that should be a pretty interesting game. And then on the boys' side, you got to think about, St. Thomas hosts Moorhead. That's always going to be a good game. The Spuds really took it to St. Thomas. They chased their top goaltender out of the game in our tournament in Prior Lake last week. So that should be a good game. That rematch should be pretty good. And then probably the game of the day in boys high school hockey, Edina hosts Minnetonka. So, it's obviously a big matchup, but Minnetonka's undefeated. And if there were ever a time for them to lose a game that would be a good loss, tonight would be the time, because the rest of their season, all their tough games are at home, and I think they got a legit shot of going undefeated. I looked at their schedule this morning. They have a road game at Rogers, and then the rest of their games are at home. So an undefeated season in high school hockey is pretty difficult to manage. If anyone can do it, it could be the staff over at Minnetonka and the teams they have right now.
All right, Tony, I'm up against it. I got to go. Thanks for your contributions. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care.
Tony Scott, Youth Hockey Hub, checking in with his weekly contributions. Quick break, and then we're going to be joined by Jack Capuano. Get ready for the Wild and Islanders coming up later on tonight in St. Paul. You're listening to Beyond the Pond on the Fan.
This is Wild GM Bill Guerin, and you're listening to Fallness and Micheletti on Beyond the Pond on KFAN.
You had Kaprizov charging in, right circle, waits, backdoor pass, Zuccarello scores! Matt Zuccarello wins it in overtime!
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably the only 2 sprints I got in this body, so if I don't score that one, I am back checking. But no, there's a little bit of life in his body still, so that's good to see.
Matt Zuccarello, after an overtime win against the Kraken in Seattle, finishes off a lengthy 7-game road trip, gets his 7th career overtime game winner, and the Wild come home victorious. Kevin Fallness here, wrapping up the final segment here of Beyond the Pond as we get ready for the Timberwolves in Cleveland. And also later on tonight, the Wild taking on the New York Islanders. To talk about that and more from the coaching staff, we bring in Jack Capuano. Jack, thanks for joining us here on KFAN.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nice way to finish off that road trip. I know it was a grind, and we can get into the particulars of what a grind that was, but that was a fun hockey game against the Kraken, and of course it's always more fun, and it makes the ride home a lot better when you come out with both points.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It was a long trip, but our guys are dialed in. We were focused, and the last game's always the toughest one after a long trip, and you got to give Seattle credit. They're missing a few key guys in their lineup. They played extremely hard, but we found a way to compete and play hard. And then obviously the 3-on-3 with the great play by Faber, and then Kaprizov to Zuccarello.
Yeah, nice little pass, a little saucer pass from Kaprizov, sets up Zuccarello, the windmill right into the back of the net, and it's 2 points. A road trip that saw the Wild grab, I think it was 10 out of a possible 14 points, so that's pretty good. Tom Reed on our broadcast says, and he's been around this game for many, many decades, he says that's the longest road trip he's ever been a part of. Now, he's not playing, nor are you, but how tough was that 2-week grind?
Well, it's always good to get away so the guys get some camaraderie, obviously, but that was a little bit a longer trip because of the World Juniors, obviously, the tournament they had at the Grand Casino, but we've been on a few of these before. This one obviously was a little extended, and it didn't help with the weather. Like we went to L.A., we were in some cities, and obviously the accommodations that the organization put us up were tremendous. But just a little bit cloudy, a little bit rainy. We didn't catch the weather we wanted, so maybe that had a little bit to do with it too. It made it a little bit longer as well.
Get back home now. You open up a 3-game homestand that starts tonight against the New York Islanders. Before we preview that, the addition of Quinn Hughes. I know it's been now 13 games. He's got 13 points in 13 games. I haven't had a chance to ask you about Quinn Hughes. You knew about him before coming here. World-class player. What's it like seeing him in a Wild uniform?
Yeah, no, obviously he is a world-class player. And obviously... it's as advertised. He's elusive, obviously tremendous puck skills and hockey IQ and hockey sense, and moves the puck, and he's very deceptive, and, he sees the game extremely well. And, I think for our guys, it's contagious amongst the room too when Billy brings in a high quality player like that. So, he's been good. He's been good in the room, which is more important, obviously, than anything. He fits right in, and obviously he's helped our team, and being paired with Faber has helped Brock's game, and I'm sure it's helps Quinn's game as well. But the points are going to come. Obviously, that's the player that he is. But defensively, he's playing sound for us as well.
13 points in 13 games. The Wild 8-2-3 since acquiring Quinn Hughes. A big piece of the blue line. A big piece in front. Jules Eriksson injured against the Kraken in the finale of the road trip. Today, the Wild call up Ben Jones in case Jules Eriksson isn't available. I don't expect you to tell me the status of Jules Eriksson. I don't even know if you know. But how important is he to this franchise? I know that Hughes is important. Kaprizov. There's a lot of guys that are important. The MVP of this team might be Jules Eriksson for everything he does on both ends of the ice, Jack.
Yeah, there's like you said, on one team, and like as coaches, you always talk management, you always talk. There's always a guy on each team, right? And Eki is that guy for us. And it's not always the most explosive, high-profile guy, the points guy, but a guy that does everything right, plays a 200-foot game, is utilized in all situations, power play, penalty kill, 5v6, 6v5, you name it, he does it. So, we don't know the status or where it is right now, but obviously, since I've been in this organization for the last, year and a half now, almost 2, it's next man up mentality. We've lost a lot of guys, and guys have stepped in, whether it's guys that are here or guys that have been called up from Iowa, and we've kept the ball rolling. So at the end of the day, we always talk about the competitiveness and our competitive nature, and that's the one thing that we have here. So depending on who's in or who's out, that's the one thing that we will do is we'll compete.
Real quick about the New York Islanders. That's what you got coming back on home ice. After a long road trip, you worry about the focus going into that first game, but you better have it tonight because that Islanders team's playing some pretty good hockey.
Yeah, it's another team, right? Like they're banged up a little bit. They got a couple guys out, and Bo Horvat, obviously an Olympian there too. So the league's tough. It's a grind. I mean, they work extremely hard. They play structured. Obviously, their goaltending's been good for them, no different than the 2 guys that we have in our net as well. So, we expect a tight game, a hard checking game. They had a really good game against Nashville a few nights ago. So. Yeah, it's not an easy night in the league. It doesn't matter, what place you're in, and you just go through the road trip we just went on. I mean, it's a grind, and like you said, the first game back from our trip, we gave the guys some time off though, so hopefully we mentally had a good day yesterday and today here, and be ready to go at it tonight.
Unfortunately, I got to wrap it up, but I did want to pass along a hello from Cal Clutterbuck. Had him on earlier in the show, a guy that you coached there in your time with the New York Islanders. Had nothing but great things to say about Cappy, as he called you, and also Pat Micheletti. He's out in Penn State for the broadcast for the Gophers tonight. Wanted to pass along a hello to you as well.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me.
All right, very good. That is Jack Capuano, one of the assistant coaches, associate head coach for the Minnesota Wild, getting ready for the Wild and Islanders tonight in St. Paul. Pregame at 6:45. Puck drops just after 7 o'clock. That would be a worry, Brett, if they don't have their focus and they're not ready to go tonight. That's the old wives' tale, the cliche, coming in off a long road trip. They didn't get in till yesterday. They landed back in St. Paul sometime yesterday afternoon, and now they're right back on the ice tonight to take on an Islanders team that's feeling it right now. 5-2-2, I think I saw in their last 9 games. So they got the work cut out for them on that game number 1.
And this is the dog days of the NHL season. You mentioned it. It feels like a sprint to the Olympic break, but then the problem is we have so many Olympians on this team. Not a lot of them. Thankfully, Kaprizov will get a break, but not a lot of Quinn Hughes. We had a goal, an all-team USA goal the other night. So it's going to continue to go. It's great from a viewer perspective, but I can imagine how exhausting it would be.
And like he said, he doesn't know the status of Jules Eriksson. They did, just in case, call up Ben Jones from Iowa, but that would be a significant injury. And they've dealt with injuries throughout the course of the season. That's an extensive one. If they lose Jules Eriksson for any length of time, that cuts a hole right down the middle of their lineup.
Well, the second line has been one of the best, if not the best lines on this team. And he's a big part of that with Johansson and Boldy. So and especially when you talk about high-end guys and shutting them down, there's no one better on this Wild squad than Jules Eriksson. So that would be a huge miss, especially with a young gun in Schaefer coming in.
We know how good the Wild have been since November 1st on home ice. They've been great as well all season long, 13-4-5, but since November 1st, 12-1-3. Tonight, back on home ice for the first time in 2026. After wrapping up a 7-game road trip, now they got 3 straight at home, including tonight against the New York Islanders. Pre-game at 6:45. Puck drops just after 7 o'clock as the Wild host Matthew Schaefer and the New York Islanders. Up the dial, of course, you've got Wally Shaver and Pat Micheletti calling all the play-by-play action between the Gophers and Penn State. You can catch that one starting at 4:30 with the pregame. Puck drops just after 5 o'clock from Happy Valley. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and FM 103.5. Brett, thank you as always, and wonderful job today on Brett Blakemore's Breakaways.
Thank you very much. Go Wild tonight, and go Pack Go as well.
No doubt about it. Go Pack Go indeed. And as for those Timberwolves, they're on the air right now. They're taking on the Cavs in Cleveland. So we're going to turn you over to Alan Horton and company on the Timberwolves Radio Network. Oh, go Wolves and go Wild!
For an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.